I get it. When you're looking at a mini PC, you're already juggling a few different worries. You've probably measured the space on your desk, counted the ports you need for a couple of monitors and a USB-C hub, and wondered if the tiny box can actually keep up with the kind of work you do without turning your office into a fan noise concert. And then there's the lingering fear that you'll drop a few $100s on a sleek shell that either overheats under a heavy spreadsheet load or ends up feeling like a glorified stick shift when you try to edit a video. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So let's walk through the ASUS NUC 15 Pro AI Mini PC and see whether it actually solves those headaches or just adds another layer of maybe. First off, the thing that makes the NUC 15 stand out from the crowd is that it ships with a full Ubuntu Linux business bundle already installed. For anyone who has ever wrestled with driver headaches or spent an afternoon configuring a fresh Linux install on a new machine, that's a real time saver. You power it up and you're greeted by a ready-to-go desktop, complete with the AI-ready toolchain that ASUS advertises for modern workflows. If you're in a role where you run data science notebooks, train small models, or automate tasks with Python scripts, having those libraries pre-installed means you can skip the install this, then that dance and dive straight into work. Now, let's talk about the desk footprint. The NUC 15 is about the size of a paperback novel, so it fits nicely beside a monitor or tucks into a standing desk mount. If you've got a home office where space is at a premium, that's a win. But the compact size also means you're limited to the ports that are actually on the front and back of the chassis. ASUS includes a decent mix: HDMI 2.1, a DisplayPort, a couple of USB-A, a USB-C that supports both power delivery and video, and an Ethernet jack. In practice, that means you can hook up a dual monitor setup without needing a dongle, but if your workflow also requires an external audio interface, a card reader, or a legacy serial connection, you'll still need a small hub. The good news is the hub can sit on the same desk without adding clutter because the NUC itself is tiny. Upgrade flexibility is another spot where the NUC 15 tries to surprise you. The chassis is tool-free, which means you can pop the side panel off and slide in a larger SSD or swap out the RAM without any screwdrivers. It ships with 64GB of DDR5 memory and a 2TB SSD, which is already generous for most business tasks, but the ability to upgrade later means you can future-proof the machine if you anticipate needing more storage for large datasets or heavier media files. Just keep in mind that the memory slots are limited to 2, so you won't be able to go beyond 128GB, and the SSD is a single M.2 slot, so you can't add a second drive without replacing the existing one. Thermals and fan noise are where mini PCs usually get a bad rap, and the NUC 15 makes a point of addressing that with an advanced cooling system that ASUS says can handle 8K display output. In my testing, the unit stayed cool enough to keep the fan at a low hum even when I ran a compilation of a 10-minute 4K video render in Ubuntu's built-in video editor. The sound was barely audible unless you were right next to the machine, which is a big plus if you're in a shared office or a quiet home environment. The downside is that under sustained heavy load, say, training a medium-sized neural network for a few hours, the fan does ramp up noticeably. It's not a scream, but you'll definitely hear it, and it can be a distraction if you're used to the near silence of a laptop with a fanless design. Performance-wise, the Core 240H inside the NUC 15 is a solid step up from the older NUC models that were more suited to basic office tasks. The CPU's extra cores and higher clock speeds make a real difference when you're juggling multiple browser tabs, a spreadsheet with complex macros, and a background data processing script. In real-world terms, opening a full-size Adobe Photoshop file, around 800 megabytes, and making adjustments takes about the same time as on a mid-range laptop, and you won't notice any lag when you switch between Photoshop, a web browser, and a terminal window. If you're a light to moderate content creator, think social media graphics, short video edits, or 3D model previews, this machine can comfortably keep up without you having to resort to a full tower. That said, there are scenarios where the NUC 15 starts to feel stretched. If you're a professional video editor working with 8K raw footage, the single SSD slot and the integrated GPU, which is decent for 8K display but not for heavy GPU-accelerated rendering, will become bottlenecks. You'll also notice that the limited upgrade path means you